is dope, and it's inspiring. So congrats on that.
Yeah, I appreciate that, man. We're all just trying our best out here, you know.
Yeah, that's all you can do. How's the year been for you?
It's yeah, that's pretty much how we all feel. It's weird. It's had like a lot of like ups and downs, but other than that, um, like it's getting like a lot better. Like, I've been fully vaccinated for a while now. Life is like slowly like coming back to normal, so that part's good. So, how about you? How's life?
So I'm living that vax life as well, and I feel a lot calmer as a result. The weather's nicer, but still, I think the vestiges of last year are still hanging around. So I'm just like, man, it'd be nice to move into a much more peaceful period. But I mean, my wife and I we're in good health, family's in good health. That's all that really matters. You know what I'm saying? So like I was saying, I saw, I was covering E3, and I had the opportunity to cover a lot of the cool games that came up in the indie showcase, and She Dreams Elsewhere came up. And of course we have ourselves a black creator behind this who's fully backing it, who's doing this. And I was like, I need to reach out, and for at least for our viewers, readers, listeners, whoever, who's not familiar with what you do or She Dreams Elsewhere, can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, for sure. So Shijin's Elsewhere is basically this surreal adventure RPG where you're in a coma. And basically you got to find out like how you got in a coma, find a way to wake up, like confront your own like inner nightmares, and just have a horrible trippy experience the entire way.
Yeah, the art style is really dope. It reminded me of just a lot of like punk grunge, um a lot of stuff out of the skateboard scene too. So I'm so curious what inspirations you got. Also, it made me think of American Wasteland, like Tony Hawk. But that's throwback. That's kind of like a more of a deep cut thing that I was thinking about. But where'd you get the inspiration from this, and how did it come about for you?
Yeah, that's stuff that you even like notice. I actually have like my skateboard like right next to me here, and like Tony Hawk's Underground. Like I played the hell out of that back in the day. So yeah, big. I can't like skate for shit, but like I love the entire aesthetic. I love being involved with that scene as much as I can. So that's been like always like a huge inspiration. But in general, like I take from pretty much like anything and everything, like be it like hip hop, music, video games, comics, just random like experiences like on the street, like all of that, like kind of uh like blends its way like into the game and like myself. So then like beyond that, like there's like foundational like influences too, like Earthbound, Persona, the stuff that like actually like makes this game like a video game, I guess. Um, but more than anything else, it's just like those real life experiences. Like, I'm like a huge proponent of that, to like make like any like type of like a quality art. Like you need to like actually like go out and like live your life more than anything. That's my hot take. I'm done with that. But yeah, I'm a weird guy who like taking from everything. And that's pretty much me.
And I think that genuine approach, it shows, and it shows because a lot of folks were just like, oh, holy shit, this is so dope. It's taking people, really by surprise, for real, man, because we don't get to see that as much, especially in the age of um like AAA titles, and then everybody's ready for the next big thing that'll help them in the content creation world or in the streaming world. But we don't get these really rich stories as much anymore. And so to get that from you folks on the indie level who are still kicking ass despite the crazy shit that's happened the last, like year and a half, few years, it's been really incredible to see. Um, what's really at like the heart of this that you hope gamers can take away? Because I know it's more than just you play a thing or it looks cool, but there's something you're hoping your players can take away from it.
I think more than anything that like it's just okay to not be okay. Especially like what we've all been like feeling like this past like year and a half. Like, like everybody's just kind of like going through it. And if there's like one thing that I've especially like learned in the process of like not just like the past year, but also just like, the entire time that I've been making this game, is that like it's okay to like, be vulnerable and to like reach out. And I definitely like this game would not be what it is, nor would I be the person that I am if I didn't like just take those steps. Right. So I think it's just important to, just be vulnerable, be empathetic, and like just be a supporter to as many people as you can. And I don't know, as Bill and Ted always say, be excellent to each other.
We don't we don't get, and I just don't feel like we get that enough. And I was thinking about the wholesome direct. My wife had told me about that, and that is something that I wish I had in my life a lot earlier. I wish I knew about that and was exposed to that sooner. We don't get those messages as much. It's a lot of like trying to be the top dog instead of like how can we all support each other as dogs? You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
how can we get each other up there? Um, but what are you most? It's probably difficult to just maybe pick one of the many moments, but what are you most proud of with this title, with this project? Maybe just this moment in general. What do you feel like the proudest? I don't know if you ever get a chance to just rest on your laurels, but what are you proud of
That's the one
most?
thing that I try like not to do. Like I've always been like, well, if like anytime like any type of like praise or anything comes in, it's like, all right, just accept it in that moment. And then after that, move on, get back to work, do it again, basically. Um, but yeah, as far as like just most proud moment, honestly, I'm just like amazed at just like the not just like the experiences that I've had, like just making this game, but also like the people that I've met. Like the fact that like I'm here just like, talking to you and like being at E3 and like I have like, people helping out, like all these friends that I made throughout the process. Like I never thought that would have happened like even, like a few years ago. And it's because of that, like I'm just, like I said earlier, like I'm just that much of a better person because of it, both a better person and a better artist because of it. So I'm really grateful for that, and I hope I can continue to keep up that forward momentum. We'll see how these reviews do though.
I have no doubt, man. For real, I really do not have any doubt that your trajectory is just going to go up. What's it been like? Artistically, technically, when you just think about the nuts and bolts, what's the learning experience been like? I think about in college when I accidentally deleted a document I was working on, and that shit was like the end of the world for me, right? But I couldn't imagine the scope and the scale of a video game and how delicate and tender that kind of process is. What were some of those like holy shit moments or lessons that you either weren't anticipating or they were like they really stood out for you in the process of making She Dreams Elsewhere?
That's a really good question. And also, I should say before that, fun fact, I actually did the exact same thing to this entire game. Like early on, accidentally deleted everything. And I just had like this like, oh fuck moment for like a full afternoon before I finally found a backup. So yeah, anyone who's like listening or reading this, back up your files like right now. Um, but yeah, lessons. It's been like a weird process. Like I started this project being like, oh yeah, this will take me like, you know, 3 to 5 months, like while I'm like a senior in high school with like other like high school stuff to do. And here we are about 5 years later, still going. So time management, definitely a big one. But I guess like just overall, like just really just finding like my own like artistic voice, because beforehand, like I've also been like a filmmaker, like theater director, photographer, bunch of other like weird creative shit. Um, and that those were all like great, and I still intend to keep doing those like after this game comes out. Uh, but in that like just before era, I guess it was like a lot more of like me thinking about like like what do people want, like what like not what sells, but like what is actually gonna like get the most attention or just like get something out of what I'm doing, versus like now like I make this game like anything that I do like just strictly for like me, myself, and I first and foremost. And if anybody else like want to like come along with that, dope. If not, also dope. You do you. Doesn't really matter at the end, because at the end of the day, like I'm like having fun, I'm just doing me, and I'm getting my uh artistic creative side out there as pretentious as I can sound. So yeah, just like that whole process of like just being authentic to myself and making what I want to see, what I want to play the most. That's really key, and I really hope that again that I not only that I can continue to keep doing that, but also I can kind of impart that lesson to other creators out there.
Again, I think the creativity of this title and this project, I don't like to use the word project as if it's still a work in progress, but I think everything is a work in progress regardless of its status. But I think this creative endeavor sheds light on that. um and what you were saying just made me think it is a process trying to find your voice as an artist and as a creator, and then it's an awkward sort of dance that you're doing until you find out how to move. um did you feel that you had found, or you had discovered your voice as a narrative designer for this game and it helped you create this, or was it a like you came across your voice after the fact? I was thinking about the process. Like, does your voice come first, or did it come after? Or what was that discovery like for you as a creator? Because as a creator and writer myself, it's it's such a it's just such a strange phenomenon. Sometimes I think I know what I'm doing or what I'm about, and other times I'm just like, what the hell am I doing?
Yeah, I'm like the exact same way. Like I think it's like a weird like a mix of both, you know. Like I like as like I grew, like the game grew and like vice versa. And I don't really think I could like just pinpoint a moment where it's like, oh, like I found it. And really honestly, like I'm still like finding it. I'm still like evolving that, like the more I kind of like not just work in the game, but also like plan out like future projects and future moves and stuff like that. So I guess like this game is basically like the culmination of me at like 23 right now. What my artistic voice will be like in like 5, 10 years, whenever, I have no clue, but I'm very excited to find out. And I just hope that I can keep evolving and growing because I don't, you know, like I said earlier, like I don't want to rest on my laurels. I never want to be stagnant. I always keep growing and always just keep making stuff.
Listen, I'm right there with you. For one, I'm a huge Pokemon fan. If those things don't ever stop evolving, because they'll keep like coming up with different renditions of a
Yep.
thing that was supposed to not evolve, but it does. I like to think about that too, like that growth mindset and resting on my laurels. I'll juggle too much sometimes, but I'd rather juggle too much than just be like content. I know that that probably
Hmm.
sounds harsh, but just to sit down and be like, okay, yeah, I'm good, doesn't really happen. I'm constantly like, I have to do something. Um, and you've got Studio Zavir. Do you want to talk about that a little bit? Like to to be 23 and doing this, and you're at E3, dude. You got your game is showcasing shit. This is like this is really dope. This is stuff that my friends and I, when I talk about it just from like a writing side. I'm trying to get into the industry, but just as like a writer because I don't have any really um like concrete design skills or like coding skills and shit. But Studio Zavir, how is that? And how is it managing that and watching it grow and creating a fostering an environment for it to grow?
It's weird because it's like when you say Studio Severe, like I guess to the outside it sounds like, oh, it's like an actual like studio, but like this is Studio Severe, like just me for the most part. Um, so I don't know. It's weird because like I'm mostly just making this game on my own, but at the same time like I'm like working with like additional people now too, like my composer, sound designer. I've got like my con supporting team. I got like my PR team to help out with, like the bigger beats. And that's really dope, but I never like imagined it like gets to this point where like I have to like be both like um the actual creative but also like the manager, I guess. Um, so it's kind of a weird process where I'm like still figuring that out. Um, it's even extra weird because I've done it beforehand in film, where like being the director and producer like of like really bad like short films and features that we don't talk about, so don't ask. But like being like on top of that and like having like the people skills there, um, a lot of that stuff it does like transfer over like to like the game dev stuff. But at the same time, it's just like so different because like this is Studios of Fear. It's just me. Like I'm just fucking around basically.
I think it's a modest description of I think a movement and an endeavor that is obviously making waves, bro. There are people online who are already really really digging it. And speaking of which, folks that want to follow the game, follow you. Where can they find you online and find your work online?
Yeah, you can find the game at Studio Zavir on Twitter, Instagram, and technically TikTok. I need to actually post my shit pretty soon, so stay tuned, I guess. And then for me personally, it's just my name at Davionne Gooden, also on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok, which I have posted on that one. Yeah, I lurk on social media, so you don't see too much from me, but I'll be there. Say hi.
Hey man, I appreciate it. It was a blast talking to you, bro.